Meet Maya, skin and bones. You've seen her on my channel before. She's a darling, very smart dog. I took her to the vet. They determined her ailment was parvo, despite 2 negative tests for parvo. And because after spending $1,000 of testing, they failed to do an X-ray. But they charged me for it. All they did was a blood draw, and they said it turned from that blood draw that there was low white blood cell counts, but they couldn't determine from that that it was parvo. But they just made this guess that, well, we don't know what it is, so it must be parvo. And similar symptoms, I guess, but so their recommendation was, recommendation A, spend $11,000. Granted, I already spent $1,000 here. Said, spend $11,000 more to put her on an IV drip and have her watched by strangers in a veterinary clinic all night. I knew she would die if that happened. She can't be left alone. She's so codependent. She needs her daddy, but so that was already a non-option. The other option they said was euthanasia. So I spent a moment with Maya alone. I told her, Maya, they want to kill you, but I'm not going to let them do that. If anyone kills my baby, it's me. And, you know, I mean, I brought her in this world. I will take her out when the time comes, when she chooses. And so I said, it's in your hands, baby, when you want to do this. And she looked up at me. Just granted, she could barely stand at the time. She still can barely stand, but she's gained a little bit of strength since then. But she could barely stand. She could barely focus on her eyes, but her eyes focused on me, and I knew there was fight left in her. So I picked her up. I carried her out of the veterinary clinic. I said nothing to the receptionist or doctors or nurses I passed as I carried her out. I knew the road ahead would be long, and quite honestly, I didn't think she would make it either. But I knew that it was her choice to suffer. If she chose to suffer through it, that was her choice. Because life is worth it. Life is worth the suffering. And so I cried and I cried and I carried her until I got picked up at one point by my sister. I cried with my sister, and we took her back to the hotel, and we've just been waiting for her to, get the bucket. But we've been trying everything to get her back to health, and she hadn't been eating. She'd been drinking water, and she still drinks water. Now her appetite for water has slowed down a bit, but I found that she will eat frozen food to some degree. Depends on, like, a couple bites here and there, just progress. I'm giving her bone broth through a syringe and Gatorade through a syringe, then I squirt in the back of her throat so that she can't spit it out. I'll do little bits at a time so that she doesn't upset her stomach. She hasn't thrown up since then. I found it in little bits like that. You can get her to hold it down. And quite frankly, I think she's gonna make a comeback. She looks like shit right now. She's not really moving much, but she's making a comeback. Got so close at one point that, yeah, this is progress right here. And that is fucking amazing that this is progress. Has shown that we've come back from the dead. Until death come knocking on someone else's door, because We're survivors. We're gonna fight this and we're gonna win. Pack sticks together no matter what. That brings me to the second point of, unfortunately, whatever it was, whether it be parvo or something else, that's ailing her, it has spread to her sister, and Pack is grieving dearly for that. Fortunately, Mochi's always been very muscular and has always had a little layer of fat on her, extra reserve, so not too worried about her in that regard, even though she has stopped eating, stopped drinking. I found the cure for that. Frozen Gatorade, frozen bone broth. She will eat the shit out of some frozen Gatorade and some frozen bone broth. She just ate a whole plate of frozen bone broth, basically. And she's held it down just fine, so she won't touch anything else. And so I'm very thankful to my sister Ray for recommending that. I don't think she'll get as bad as mine did. She's gonna hang in there. Although her diarrhea is very bloody and not really diarrhea, I'd just call it more like liquid ass, honestly. But I'm hopeful, and I'm hopeful it doesn't spread to the rest of the pack. But if it does, they're grown-ups. I'm sure they have already been exposed. I'm pretty sure Bear had it and it wasn't nothing to him. It lasted about less than a day, and his stool started firming up. Now, Ratchet, I'm not sure if she's had it yet, but she seems to be, her demeanor seems that something's up with her. She hasn't had diarrhea yet, per se, but she has had funny stools, so we'll see. My guess is it's something fungal because of the spore print there. When they lay on a white blanket or sheet long enough, they get up and there's a spore print. I don't know what that means per se, but I know that there are fungal infections that can be infect a dog through its bloodstream, not just on the surface level. And the results are very similar to what my experience: wasting of the muscles, vomiting, shallow breathing, dilated eyes, or random eye dilation. She hasn't had any patchy fur, but she definitely had some fungal growth on her feet. I thought it was spruce sap at first. The veterinarian thought it was spruce sap, but I got to peeling some of it off, and the sticky stuff was part of her pad. Fungal infection had eaten through the part of her pad on her feet, and Mochi had the same problem. She had cracked and bloody feet from where her feet had been ravaged by this fungus, and it was a sticky substance like sap. You would have thought it was sap. Anyone would have thought it was sap. I think that is the route the infection took to take control like it did. Very dangerous puppies. I'm hopeful for Mochi, hopeful for Maya, and we ain't giving up. You ain't gonna take my babies, Death. You can go kiss my ass. I will murder the entire world before I let you take my babies. If you're a veterinarian, you're going to school for or you're going to school to be a veterinarian, by all means, finish your schooling, but do not go into the veterinary business if you are going to like any of these other veterinarian fucking practices that have no sense of moral obligation to their patients. It's money, 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 money. Oh, before we can even give you, before we can treat your dog, test your dog, or anything with your dog, we're gonna charge you an arm and a leg. And I know there's no insurance for pet veterinary services, so despite the fact that there's no insurance like in a human medical practice, so can't rely on that for their high prices. We're still gonna charge you high prices. We're gonna, for an X-ray, a couple $100. Just to be seen, $180, and that's just to be seen, not even tested or examined, just to enter the room, just for a doctor to walk into the room and say, what's your problem? All right, well, now that I can do an X-ray and this test and this test and this test, and it's gonna cost you $500. X-ray is a couple $100 up here, just for one X-ray on a dog, and $500 at a veterinary service got me nowhere. Got the blood draw. It got a fucking Guardia, or a Parvo test, which they had done the day prior to that, and it got me a blood draw. Then no X-rays, none whatsoever. So I'm like, then they come out and ask me if I want X-rays, right? And how much it's gonna cost, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I need the X-rays, yeah. So they never took her back again. They came back and said, okay, the X-ray says shows there's no blockage, but it shows signs consistent with Parvo. And I'm like, wait, you guys never took her back to be X-rayed. You tell me you X-rayed her when you took her blood and then asked me if I wanted X-rays? That ain't your style. You wouldn't even let me leave the clinic with the medication you gave me until I came back and paid for it. So you made me put my dog in the car, come back and pay for it, and then grab the medication that you had already handed me. And like, what do you think I'm gonna just fucking dine and dash type that shit at a fucking veterinary clinic? Man, these guys are fucking evil. Like, when people, while I was sitting there in the waiting room, were basically faced with the reality of, hey, either you pay us this arm and leg amount of money, which costs more than the down payment on a car or a house, or a new business, and fucking basically the average care for any regular problem at a veterinarian's clinic is going to cost you $11,000, or anywhere from $5,000 to $11,000. It was the fucking thing I got. And that was just for IV fluid and possibly blood transfusions, but that was probably not. Even without the blood transfusion, it's going to cost something like $5,000 just for the saline drip. And so many people were faced with that reality. Hey, your dog's going to die. Let's just treat him like this, and it's going to cost this much. If you don't do that, we recommend euthanasia, and for $500 for right there. Like, one person wanted their dog back. They wouldn't give their dog back. They're looking for overnight care. They would not give the person their dog back. They said, we can euthanize them, or you can pay us the money you owe us. And they euthanized this man's dog because the man owed them money. This is totally treatable ailment. Veterinarian practices are evil. Veterinarians are going to hell. And anyone that is going to veterinarian school, please finish your schooling, go out there, and you offer a ethical alternative to what we got going on here, because that's not morality. That is plain evil, satanic fucking bullshit right there. And I'm a sick motherfucker. I was appalled. I was nauseated by just the fucking hour and a half I sat in that waiting room listening to these front desk receptionists and vet techs going, talking back and bantering back and forth, because I was the only other patient there, and hearing their stories of what was going on. with this pet or that pet. It was so fucking sickening. Like I wanted to get up and just grab one of them motherfuckers by the throat, pull them over the counter, shove their face up their own ass, and barnyard waffle stomp the shit out of them. But I have my baby to worry about, and I'm only going back to jail. Best believe I'll be back though. When my baby's out of water clear, I'm going back there to make a fucking scene, and it's not gonna be pretty, but fortunately for YouTube, I will film it and upload it, and it's gonna be great. So stand by for that. Fuck veterinarians. If you offer ethical veterinarians practice, please put your information down in the description, especially if it's in Alaska, in the Anchorage area. We desperately need one up here. The ASPCA is 4 weeks out for any care. They don't have an emergency walk-in clinic, and I understand that. They just can't, because the options are there. It's either them or a regular vet, and so they're backlogged, they're backwashed, they can't take any clients and that's, that's okay. They're doing the best they can, but the for-profit ones and any vet tech that works there has no right ever to have a practice. There should be a Hippocratic oath for veterinarians. Animals are sentient. That's been all animals with the backbone are sentient. None of them are sapient. In other words, they can't retain and recall knowledge to the degree that humans can. I disagree with that. Honestly, sapience is bullshit. Animals are sapient. The difference between humans and animals is that we have a more advanced pattern seeking process in our operating system is made strictly for making patterns, seeing patterns, and predicting patterns. Whereas in animals is more on threat basis of like what's the immediate threat. Very fight with animals. Humans are very pattern seeking. They will not run away from a threat because it's a pattern that's not normally something they would see, and they're interested. Like, what's this pattern gonna do? Like, I'm gonna watch this tsunami come in. Look, that's a huge wave. Wow, never seen something like that before. But anyway, if it's a sentient animal, that means it can fight for it means it wants to live. It knows it has feelings, and it is able to know that it exists, and it is able to choose to exist, and is able to continue to fight for its existence. So it has a right to determine when it's ready to die, just like anybody else. I really want to fucking kill a veterinarian right now. I want to torture him, string him up by his neck, torture him, cut his from the groin to the neck, and let his guts spill out, and like just pull his eyeballs out of his head, and then shit. I really want to do some sick motherfucking shit to a veterinarian right now. Honestly, they gave up on my baby, and they wanted to kill my baby for $500. Fuck the vets.